We are live and welcome to another episode of The Person Behind the Pen. I cannot believe how quickly time is flying. We're in May already. Is it May? Yes, I think it's May. It's funny. Uh, Dr. Katrina and I were just backstage and we were talking a bit about entrepreneurship, our journey, how we got here and such. And I didn't realize that this would actually happen, but my days kind of roll one into the other. I know it's the weekend because my husband hasn't gotten up at 5 o'clock to go to work. Um, and I don't say that because I'm working every single day, which I am. How do I explain this? Like I work every single day, but not the way like some entrepreneurs. Oh my God, I worked harder than I ever did. I'm here 60 hours a week. But it's not like that. I put time in every day, yes, 7 days a week because of the nature of my business. So sometimes clients are available then on the weekends or evenings, but I am working less, at least less than I was with two jobs. Anyway, why did I go off on that tangent? I have no idea. But the whole the whole point of this was I realized when I was speaking with her that so many of the people that I've met and of the 62 co-authors I've worked with, uh, many of them are entrepreneurs and they have various stories for how they got into their entrepreneurial journey. And when this trilogy idea came about, a People First professional networking platform, it was from the standpoint with me that I had actually started my business um, because I came onto the LinkedIn platform and found, um, discovered I had a passion for something and I enjoyed the community so much and it grew into so much more for me that I wanted to do a book on this. What I discovered as I went along, though, and expanded it into a trilogy because so many wanted to join, um, outside of the original 21, so we expanded to 36. I had to break it up into three books so that it would be more readable. I can't stand a book that's like the size of a Bible. I'm just saying. It's just too weighty, drives me nuts. And people fell into different legs of the journey. So the trilogy got broken down, right, into three parts. The first being why we came and why we stay. Why did we come to LinkedIn? Why do we stay on LinkedIn? Um, the second part was we came as professionals, we make impact as people. And there are a whole bunch of people out there that did come onto this platform either searching for a job or they showed up as their professional presence and they made not just meaningful connections but friendships, and as a result have grown so much personally and professionally. So the last book is really where my vision was, which was how we found our purpose and started a business, because I felt that there's where I had gotten to in this journey. But I'm so glad that it rolled out the way that it did get broken into three parts. If you're on this platform, whether you joined a year ago or 20 years ago, the time you're on here actually does not determine the amount of value you get on here. I think that experience is very subjective. And there have been many that have told me they've joined, they've come off, they're friends with LinkedIn sometimes they're not, And quite a few of the writers express this in their stories. And I love that. Not just because we did a trilogy on LinkedIn means that, oh my God. Okay, I'm not saying that, LinkedIn, please do not throw me off. I'm just saying that there are advantages and disadvantages to every decision. And I like that this allowed so many reasons to be on the platform and in social media in general to be highlighted. So before I bring up Dr. Katrina, I want to say hi to Sharon Byrne. Sharon also wrote in the trilogy. Sharon was in book 2. We came as professionals. We make impact as people. Sharon was on last week, I believe. And Jen Lynn did the reading of her chapter with her. So if you're not following Sharon, please find her on LinkedIn and follow her. And then I have to give a very special shout out to my brother-in-law. Hello, Daljit. It is so wonderful to see you here. So, Daljit is up in Canada. He's married to my cousin. Um, and isn't it a beautiful thing when your family supports you? They may not ever fully understand the choices for your change in direction, but it really it means a lot to have that support. So I just want you to know, Daljit, thank you so much for tuning in. All right. So with that, I am going to bring up Dr. Katrina. Um, Hello, how are you? And thank you so much. It's so great to see you.
Hi, Nick. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. And you can just call me Katrina. I only make people I don't like call me doctor.
Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Katrina it is. Um, when I think about the fact that we started this project, gosh, I think around this time last year, that's
Yeah.
kind of when it kicked off. Um, and
Yeah, I
it
think
was
that's when I saw the call for the first, like when you thought it was just going to be one book. It
yes, and it was
was
me.
around
It
this
was
time
in
last
fact
year.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Wow, time flies. And it was supposed to be one book and it rolled into three and it rolled through the, time frame for publishing, which was summer, and rolled right into October. But I guess everything played out the way it needed to. I feel that it always does, even if you don't see it in the moment. Um, and thank you for being patient and sticking around. I want to say, like, all 35 co-authors, along with myself, really displayed a level of, okay, Nick, this thing's not published yet. But we hit the bumps we needed to for a reason. And this was supposed to be a LinkedIn love affair, which I think is hilarious because, I see this on the show all the time. I wanted to use the LinkedIn trademark. And they're like, no, you can't use it in the same sentence with love affair. I'm like, okay. Um, so the fact that it is a people first professional networking platform now certainly does fit the vision for me still, because it was the people first part I was trying to highlight and not have people view this platform as just a strictly professional platform. Um, so before we dive into reading anything, um, would you say when you first came on, you came on as a professional or more on a personal level? And would you say where you are now is the same? Just curious.
I came on as a professional to get a job. I think like most people. Um, And that's not where I am now because, as you said in the beginning, I'm an entrepreneur. And so I'm not on here to get a job. But, a lot of what I do isn't even necessarily as an entrepreneur. I come on and I support people and have conversations with people. And so it really is just about the people. And so I think your new titles fit better, honestly.
Oh,
It's
good.
the
I'm so
stories.
happy.
I think
Because
it fits the
technically,
stories better.
yes, I agree. I mean, I was the one that was crazy in love with LinkedIn at the time. When this happened, because I started my business, I didn't expect that it would take off the way that it did, and I still don't get me wrong. I still actually, when you think of the word affair, it could have a negative connotation. So I think that's absolutely where I am right now. I certainly have my moments of being totally in love with the platform and then totally like, anyway, we shan't go there.
I have written letters to LinkedIn in my posts telling it that Thread thinks I'm cooler than LinkedIn does. Just
Wait,
because of what the algorithm is doing and what it's showing me and who it's showing me to. So that pitting them against each other didn't work either.
oh jeez. And you tag them in so they see it?
I did.
Okay, so I started tagging them in the beginning too when I first put out about the book, and then I'm like, you know what, forget it. LinkedIn's not going to jump up and be like, oh, wow, she did an entire trilogy on us with like 36 stories. We're going to pick this up and we're going to highlight it and we're going to like do something with it. Yeah, there was pipe dreams are gone now. Shoot. But anyway, you never know. Now we're doing the person behind the pen, and 36 people are going to be reading their stories. You just never know.
Yeah.
So share a little bit about yourself with us, to give some, background, before we jump into reading the chapter.
Sure. So I mean, I guess I could start with why I ended up on on LinkedIn looking for a job. I was trying to get out of higher education full time. I was kind of in a position where the level of work expected was making a chronic illness worse. And so I needed to leave. And so I, thought a job was was the way out. Here it wasn't. And I ended up, when I decided to leave, I bought a course and I hated it. It was terrible. It was so terrible. They've since been sued. And I thought, well, am I the only one? Like, are there other courses like this? So I talked to more people. Like, been your experience with courses? And a lot of times they were not great. And so I kind of found, a way to take my experience teaching and designing courses online in one space and pull it over to be useful in another space.
That makes perfect sense. And you figured out where there was a need. And it wasn't just something that you were good at or loved doing. And you said, oh, I'm just going to go do this. You did your research, you reached out to other people, you realized that there was a need for this. And I think that's so important as well when you go in to starting a business, because there has to be sustainability. And then, like you said, you bring all this experience with you, having been so long involved in lecturing and course building. And, with the University of Arizona, you have a lot of years of experience behind you. So that's the other part. It's lending credibility to, this business that you've just started. And with social media, forget it. Everything can be fake these days. Okay. Anybody could write in a recommendation that so and so is the best so and so. And you got to look for the proof in the pudding. So when you could really look back at somebody's track record and see this is what this person has been living and has been excelling at, it's so important. Like you say, doing your research, you saw that this was needed, and you also knew you had the credentials to back it. So, how are you? How long have you been running your business? Uh, could you share two things with us that you've learned, especially for more who just decided to start an LLC a few months ago?
It'll be 3 years in October. And I would say the number one thing that I learned is everybody else's strategies aren't going to necessarily work for you, and it's okay to not take their advice. That was an early on sense of panic. Yeah, but I'm not doing. It's okay. It's okay if you're not doing. And remember to play is the second one. I've been doing a lot of research, but also playing around with things, like trying them out, seeing how people like them. Oh, you didn't like that? It was terrible. Okay, well then I'll go, go back and fix it, and thanking people when they're willing to take a risk on you playing around with things. I would say those are the two big ones. Don't take everybody's advice and remember to play.
Those are huge. And thank you for that. And I know them in the back of my head, but I am like just crossing my 3 month marker, and you going into your 3 years, and it hasn't. Those are two things that hasn't changed and probably will never change in the scope of a startup. And oh goodness gracious, you are right. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody is going to tell you, do it the way that is tried and true. And tried and true for you doesn't mean tried and true for me. I am trying to build out my own framework as a publishing company, and I am trying to make it less about the grammatically correct and more about the actual person behind the pen. No, you're not going to open the book and see blatant misspelling. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying it's a little bit less of a focus on a missing comma than it is what the sentence actually means. Um, and yes, I say this not being a studied writer myself, you know, no degrees here, but a person that believes if you have heart and a strong determination to learn, you can, you will, and you can take it as far as you want to go. Um, and I'm sure Katrina goes through lots of this with her courses, with people taking her courses, and people starting at the I don't know if I could get through this course. I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't even know if this is where I want to go. So, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And I want to say hello to Aaron Gibson. Hello, Aaron. And Aaron also wrote in the trilogy with us. So he is your co author. Welcoming Aaron from Canada. All right, so the stage is all yours. Whenever you're ready to kick off, feel free to grab a drink if you need to. And I got mine open right here. So if I'm looking down, folks, and I'm not looking at the camera, I'm reading along.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
I
reading on my
promise.
phone, so.
I'm not looking at my nails or nothing. I'm reading along. Okay.
Okay. Social media sucks. Finding my people unexpectedly. I hate social media. I hate it so much that I have time limits for all my social apps on my phone. Each platform has different things I hate. I hate being connected to energy vampires that a platform might suggest. On LinkedIn, I hate how the algorithm insists on putting my content in front of higher education folks, even though I've been 18 months out of the industry. So, really, I hate the technology. But I love what it's done for me. I found I can easily pick out people who are less likely to suck my energy on LinkedIn, and that's big for me. How it started and where it landed are two different places, though. It all started with a free year of premium membership and a toxic work situation. I needed to leave my full time higher ed position because it was killing me. As someone with a chronic illness, the situation, the expectations, and the constant on was making me worse. If I didn't get out, I wasn't going to make it. That's where LinkedIn came in. LinkedIn was supposed to help me get a job. As soon as I made the decision, I did the courses, webinars, and workshops, all the things that would help me showcase my accomplishments to a prospective employer. I networked my ass off, reaching out to people in roles I was interested in. I asked for their time and focused on getting the real talk scoop on what the job was like, what the stability was like in that role, in that industry, in other industries. And that's where the love affair started. People were willing to talk to me about their careers and their career paths, the ups and downs, highs and lows, and meandering ways they got there. I learned so much from the generosity of strangers. They were generous with their time, their energy, and their experiences. It's what made me stop trying to get a job and start my own business. Without those conversations I had through LinkedIn, I wouldn't have come to that conclusion so quickly. I'd likely have spent months convinced my resume wasn't right, spiraling into self-doubt, and applying uselessly to a bajillion jobs that I'd never get. So maybe not all that, but strangers on the internet helped me figure out a path forward and a path out with less frustration. 6 months later, my path forward was mostly run by an educated wish, fueled by word of mouth. I was on LinkedIn, but posting haphazardly and mostly commenting and having conversations through comments. In that wild spaghetti throwing moment in my LinkedIn experience, I made some connections that felt good. I made them by being myself, being open to talk to people, being part of their market research, and doing my own research. I took this haphazard approach for another 6 months. Then I bought a course from one of those connections to help me with really making that shift in my LinkedIn approach from give me a job to come be my client. I bought this from a person because of the relationship we'd built. She gave a shit about whether or not I was successful. She was running a beta test on a course. Course creation is my area of expertise. Perfect match. Today, we know each other well enough, despite not meeting in person, that I'd go sleep on her couch. It took me to my next stage in the love affair. I made more connections in that program, and I started to see LinkedIn as a relationship building platform. I realized I could curate my feed, controlling who I commented and communicated with. I realized that I could put stuff out there and see what happened. I realized I could reclaim my voice, and the growing pains of shaking out the academic were okay to have in a public place like LinkedIn, because some of that old voice was sort of accepted, and I could change it with time. I loved the permission to be myself in a space that seemed overly professional and stuffy, and I fully embraced it. Taking the following 6 months, not sure how I managed to do this in 6 months increments, but here we are, to really find my people, settle into my real voice, and build and deepen relationships. 6 months later, I had created a space on LinkedIn that I wanted to show up to, both with and for others. I had spent the time teaching the technology who I wanted to see by commenting, by finding people through other people that didn't suck my energy. I was posting things I wanted to post in a voice that sounded like me. And I continued like that for a while, building connections that weren't just connections on a platform. I built connections with people who were real and saw these connections as a human endeavor, regardless of monetary gain. Yeah, we're there to make money, but we're also here to be human and social in an unlikely place. LinkedIn has good humans. We're going to fast forward again. And if you are good at mathing, that brings us to about 2 years after that free premium subscription and directly into the month prior to writing this section. I had a rough draft of the first 800 words, and I've always been a 700-word writer on a 1,000-word assignment. I think I did pretty good there, Nick. Then I lost my youngest brother in a tragic car accident. I debated sharing this in my chapter, but I've decided to include it in my story because of that line that I wrote.
It's okay, we got you. We got you, hon. Take a moment.
LinkedIn has good humans. And the last few weeks have solidified that in my mind. I didn't initially share it in a post, but I chose to let some people know because I would suddenly be going dark and I was unsure of whether I'd be showing up to things I had committed to, this book chapter being one of them. The outpouring of real love and concern restored my faith in humanity. At a time when I can't even write this without crying, or read it apparently. Of course, people sent condolences and offers of what can I do. Most folks aren't heartless, but I also had check-ins and declarations of not needing refunds for an event that I was supposed to be running. I was given reassurance that it was okay for me to take time to finish this story without needing to keep up with the other commitments that came with the project. The empathy from the connections I've made on LinkedIn has been overwhelming. LinkedIn has good humans, and good humans create relationships across distance. They show care through data clouds. They act human when you need it most. My love affair with LinkedIn is about the people. I landed here to look for a job, and I stayed because of the people and the relationships. Not just the people I've met on LinkedIn, but the people LinkedIn helped me stay connected to. And I'm trying to pull myself back into posting because that's how I market my services as a solopreneur. I've struggled. As someone with advanced degrees in writing, I'm struggling to write, especially for public spaces. I'm struggling to write content for marketing, sales pages, anything. Writing about anything without acknowledging that elephant in my room feels wrong. It feels like ignoring a shift in my life that I can't do that if I'm going to keep showing up as human for others. So I wrote about that, and I shared it in a space that's been traditionally professional, which has traditionally meant emotionless, a space where sharing other life changes has been frowned upon in the past. I felt good about it for two reasons. One, I shared it for me because I was giving myself continued permission to show up how I can and as I am. I knew that most folks in my network don't really give two shits about the professional expectations of the platform. And LinkedIn responded as humans. People in my network that I know outside of LinkedIn responded. People in my network that I've never met in real life responded. And people in their networks responded. I didn't post for them, but they responded with love and understanding and stories about their own loss. And really, that's why we're all here. Maybe not specifically on LinkedIn, but there's no reason why we can't grab the platform for our own use, for our own movement through life. There's no reason we can't show up for each other when life impacts our professional space. We don't exist as professionals and human beings separately. Showing up in professional spaces as humans makes us more real. I wasn't sure how to end this. Like I said, writing is hard at the moment. But a quote someone shared with me in LinkedIn DMs has helped me over the last few weeks and reminds me that grief is worth the gain. I have no idea where this was said or who Jamie Anderson is, but I don't care because it's true. Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give. But cannot. All of that unspent love gathers in the corner of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in the hollow part of your chest. Grief is just love, with no place to go. Jamie Anderson. And I'll carry it with me as I move on to create content, engage, and market the good I'm putting into the world. LinkedIn has good humans, no matter what holes my heart comes to them with. You can find me being human on LinkedIn and in my website. And I'm gonna mute myself and blow my nose.
Go right ahead. I'm putting up a couple of comments. I try not to put them up while the person is reading, but if I do, because it's applicable to a part of the story, but then I will always share them after so you could see them.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon was aware because she is your co-author, and as time passed, not at first, people became aware of the situation. And I was glad to see that there was some support within the group. I know that was very difficult for you to read. And that person and that quote that they shared is so deep. And here you are now, having written that story, and it published in October, and it's May of the following year. And it continues to evoke those emotions in you rereading it. And I think that that's the power of memorializing some of the experiences in our life. There will come a time when you will read that and perhaps it won't take on exactly the same meaning. I also feel that had you chosen to step out of the project, it would have been completely understandable. But somewhere in some part of you, you made the decision to continue on. By continuing on, I feel that you honored him and you paid tribute to him. by continuing to pursue something that you gave yourself a chance to do. As a sister, you would have wanted him to do the same. And I know we've spoken in some ways, this was healing as well. With it being so raw and fresh, it couldn't be terribly healing um, in the moment, but just the release of being able to express your emotions to yourself without looking at yourself in the mirror and saying it. You don't have to say it to anyone else either. You got to actually put those emotions down. I almost started crying, and I held myself um, because, I've experienced loss. I've lost my mom, I've lost my grandmother over the years. And most recently, I lost my fairy son. And he was with me for 16 years, day in and day out. Um, and now I have to take that line that you shared. And when my husband comes home tonight, I need to share that line with him because we're both grieving. But that line is just beautiful. That grief is
Yeah.
just love without somewhere to go. What now do you think, now that you have time to reflect, what do you think caused you to decide to move ahead with the chapter at that point? Was there a defining moment that you said, you know what? And I really hope it was more than just feeling an obligation, because I think we had spoken about it, and like you said, I I'm very easygoing. So, and in a situation like this, it is like I said. I mean, you would have to be a monster to not understand that this person needs to step away and be refunded.
Yeah. I mean, it was in part because I don't quit things. And he would have given me shit for quitting something that I wanted to do, especially something I already had 800 words written for. And so that, that was a really big part of it. And I love writing. Um, and I saw it as a way to help me get past that hurdle of I can't write. So bring me back to something I loved, at the same time that I was not letting myself quit something, because I have a book and I've written before. I've got tons of publications, and writing is just something that I like to do.
Mhm.
And it wasn't always that way. I always called myself a reader, not a writer.
But I get
Um,
it though. Like you said, you on a 1,000 word assignment, you're a 700 word writer, and the fact that you got to 800, you put blood, sweat, and tears into this already. And I do understand that weight of holding yourself accountable to a standard that you have to make it to the finish line, because I'm the same way. I'm glad that you did it. I know that the readers out there are glad that you did it. The trilogy did very well. The books went to international bestseller. The third book hit number one international bestseller. Um, and we've sold over, I think, among all the books, well over 200 copies. And right now, that's without a ton of advertisement, because I was working full time and the majority of promos were being pushed out on LinkedIn. I've only just started spreading across platforms now.
yeah.
So I will be pushing because there's so much value in these stories for people. Um, until the thing is, people see a cover, until you crack that cover open, you really don't know what's in there. And this story, you wouldn't expect that you would step in to such a life changing moment that's a very unfortunately normal part of life. So, if you could share a couple words of inspiration for someone out there right now that is in the midst of something going on personally, but professionally, they really need to find the gumption to push through. Um, what would you say to them? And take a moment to think, because I am that person, by the way, that I don't prep anybody for a show. I don't prepare questions. This is all organic. Um, I know that could be a little less structured and more difficult for the audience sometimes to follow, but I actually feel that organic is always a better conversation.
I agree. And I appreciate that you didn't send questions ahead of time because I wouldn't have looked at them anyway. Because I like to just be able to react. So that's the way I am. But I think, whether or not, when you're deciding whether or not something is something that you want to push through, when you're going through something, decide how much it is that thing brings to you, right? So writing brings me joy. It brings me relief. It's something that I turn to. If it had been posting on LinkedIn or making YouTube videos, yeah, no, that stopped. I even pulled back on a program that I was supposed to be offering starting in October, dropped it completely. So really, if you're trying to decide the things to push through and the things to let go, hold on to the things that matter to you and that make you feel good and remind yourself that you're human. Because for me, that was writing.
What a great answer. You didn't just push inspiration out there to say, okay, I'm going to say this to make somebody push through whatever it is they're focusing on or we're focusing on right now when this happened, but rather you're telling them to push through with the things, or if there are even things going on in your life right now that really matter. And that, to me makes me think that you can give yourself that space if there is something in your life that isn't going on that you align with enough that you have that inspiration to push through it. So I want to say hi to Leslie. Leslie is just popping in now, and we're just happy that you're here. And I want to say hi to Reagan Siskabaria. Okay, I just butchered your name. I need to stop trying to pronounce people's names. But welcome and thank you for being here. And Sharon left a very beautiful comment. To live in the hearts we leave behind is not to die. This is what my grandmother requested to be written on a tombstone. And we had spoken about that before, and I think it's really beautiful that she requested it be put on a tombstone, because usually it's the people that's living that are thinking of things to say to themselves, right, to keep them going. Um, and
She thought ahead.
yeah, she went ahead and did it, and she's
Brilliant.
telling them, listen, as long as you keep me in your heart, don't worry about me. And I think I have to definitely I'm going to make some shorts from this, especially around the portion where you read about your brother. I have to say time is like crazy, and I don't get to make shorts out of a lot of the interviews I've been doing, and I want to get there. But I think that this part is uh, reaches so much more beyond the story of the book, and the fact that we're trying to highlight that the people first portion of this professional networking platform is what makes people stay. They get drawn into the professional reasons. But if they choose to look beyond that and allow themselves to explore, they find so much more meaning in the platform. And I like that you also shared that you were able to curate your feed to some extent. Now,
Yeah.
algorithm has a mind of its own and is going to do whatever the hell it
It
wants to do.
does.
But you do have some control
Mm-hmm.
by deciding on which posts you choose to interact with, and how often. And those posts from those people and or similar will fill your feed, which is great because sometimes I'm scrolling through Instagram, for example, and I'm like, I don't want to see this. I don't need to see this, you know. And like I said, I just crossed over back onto Facebook. I was never on Instagram, but now I'm in business, so I got to do my due diligence. And I still cannot find in either of those platforms what I found here. I don't
Yeah.
know what your experience has been, but I still can't find that. Have you been able to find that on other platforms? This ability to be able to
Um,
connect to this level?
yes, but not Facebook or Instagram. Threads algorithm has actually been super on point. So
Really? Oh my
it
God, I have threads and
has.
I have totally not been going there. Can you write a course for me on how I can manage all of this by myself?
Pick the
No.
things that matter most, Nick. Pick the things that matter most.
Oh gosh, yes. You know what? You were saying it. You're so saying it. Pick the things that matter most. I got to remember that because, and that brings us right back to don't listen to what everybody is saying and telling you that you should be doing. You need to figure out the things you need to do that work best for you,
Yep.
right? And I feel like the more time that I have to spend doing all of this, trying to build my social media visibility, is the less time that I actually have to spend concentrating on the individuals that choose to come and work with the publishing company, that choose to come back and publish multiple times, right? Because it's not just about that, it's their growing personally through every writing
Mm-hmm.
experience. And that's how the majority of the work has come in. It's all referrals. The next book, We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses, coming July 1st, 10 out of 16 writers have not written with me before. And every single one of them came
Great.
through a referral.
A referral. That's awesome.
Um, not the post that said call with a call,
Yeah.
right? So that speaks volumes.
I recently was read a statistic that people trust personal recommendations. I think it was 92% of the time, but don't quote me on that. And only trust ads 2% of the time. And so,
Can you blame them? Can you can you blame me? I probably feel the same way because again,
yeah,
so much can be manipulated on social media. And so much can be manipulated in the digital world right now. That's why and that's why I don't like the script. Like I don't like the
I
script
get
and I
that.
don't like to prepare the questions because I feel that unless you're a really good actor, people could totally tell if you practiced your answer, right? And that is so not my personality.
I didn't even practice reading, Nick. Just shut up.
Okay, listen, there have been a couple of people who I know did do a read through of their chapter because it's been a while, maybe. Um, and this, I know a couple of people said I read it because I knew when I hit a certain part I would cry, and they still cried.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I didn't do it. I was like, why put myself through that twice?
right? But yeah, it's that's the thing about these projects that I also enjoy. That so many people in it and different people aligned more or less with other people, and there continue to be collaborations beyond the project. People who have
Yeah.
now become friends and they are working together on different things. And it's such a great starting point. Like you're out there doing a post, trying to connect with 30 people that align with you, and you just stepped into a project with 36 people and half of them align with you, you're already halfway there. So, and you're participating in a project that means something to you. You're not going in there with the intention to make connections, but you walk out of it with connections. So,
Yeah.
Leslie popped in looking at Substack. Do you have thoughts on Substack?
I am not personally on Substack.
Substack, yeah.
Clearly not scripted at the moment, but I am part of a little side project that is trying to get its legs called The Mother Load, and really about,
Oh, I
keeping a
like the
hold of
name.
yourself when you become a mom, which can be hard to do. And we're planning to go into Substack, but that's the extent of it. I've been added to a Substack as a as a contributor, and that's about where I am. But I do hear good things about, your ability to be visible, to a wider variety of folks on there, when you are posting and sharing, and they have video now apparently, and so it's kind of expanding from the very first time I looked at Substack, which was kind of like a glorified blog. It's
I I
much more than that nowadays.
I have to look deeper because I have to say I have some friends that are on there that I feel were diehard LinkedIn fans at one point.
Mm,
They worked on Medium, and incidentally, Medium was where my writing journey started. I actually wrote there for a few months before I started really focusing on my posts here on LinkedIn. And
mhm.
I haven't made the transition to Substack, but I've heard so many great things about them. And so, like I said, many of my friends have transitioned over there. So make sure you share the information with me in the background. Um, it's one of the things that I continue to try to do. Once you move on beyond publishing with me, we've already established a friendship. And how much we each give to it is whether or not the friendship stays maintained. And to me, that doesn't mean speaking to somebody every single week. Um, and it doesn't mean showing up for every single thing. It means being able to support, or rather supporting where you can, the person knowing that you are there. Um, and I'm glad that I did this series because it brings everybody back a little back
Yeah.
into the closer circle. So please share that with me because I like to continue to support. And then I also shared that there are DMs out there now in the groups for all the projects. And I have encouraged people to use them once it was wrapped up to continue to support one another, right? So feel free to share something that's new going on with you because you never know that one person in the group that you maybe didn't connect closely with and you went on to a new venture and this actually speaks to that person. So, and here I am, like totally pushing, not necessarily publishing with me, but getting involved in projects, right? And when you get involved with projects, don't just walk away with having completed the project. Take more out of it by taking the time to get to know the people in the who are participating with you because so much can come out of there. So Jason just joined. Jason saying hi. I just want to make sure that I get that up there. And Jason was in the trilogy, yes, and he was in book
Yeah.
two. We
Mhm.
came as professionals who make impact as people. And I love that we put this out to do, and so many of the courses come back and support one another. That also speaks volumes. It speaks volumes as to the connections that were made. So I'm going to throw up your graphic so people can scan the QR code and follow you on LinkedIn. So, guys, please grab your phone, pull that out, and let me get this up here. If you are not connected to Catrina, I get to call Katrina, not Dr. Katrina, because she likes me. I'm just kidding. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Um, I'm going to throw this up. Make sure you scan the QR code, okay, and get connected. Um, she is the owner of Catrina Mitchum Design,
Learning design.
Learning Design.
Mhm.
And she is a curator of courses, online courses. And she has tons of experience behind her. She's been a lecturer. She has worked closely with the University of Arizona. And can I share this? She just moved cross country. She went west to
Yeah.
east. So, I mean, that is a big move. But now you're up on my side. So, technically, I better drive south because I got to go south because I got to meet so many people. It's not funny. So,
Have a pool, Nick.
I'm going to get to Virginia. I'm going to get there. I swear. All right. Let me get this. Let me start by getting this up. Okay. So, you make sure that you connect with Katrina, please. All right. So, make sure you scan that QR code and you connect. Okay, so I have like one last question for you, and you
Mhm,
totally don't have to answer. That's just always the way it is.
mhm.
You had mentioned one of the reasons you decided you were stepping away before you went into entrepreneurship was because the toxic environment you were in was exacerbating your chronic illness. Would you be comfortable sharing what that chronic illness was, or that's not something you would be comfortable sharing?
Yeah, sure. I have multiple sclerosis, and so stress could cause relapses. And I
Yes,
had a
yes.
particular semester where it was pretty bad, and I had a relapse and didn't realize it. And that was kind of the scariest part of it, is that
Mm,
I didn't realize what was. Neither did my neurologist. But I was
wow.
losing words. Like I was not remembering common words of things that I could see, like cup
Wow, that's
or
rough.
coffee. If I can't ask for coffee, then I'm not going to make it.
I know because your picture. I hang on it. I gotta see if I could show it. So, tell me if you're seeing where you're seeing it.
Sort of, not really.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Uh, you just got the quickest glimpse of it. Okay, that was Katrina's picture at the beginning of her chat, and yes, people, she is holding a coffee mug, so I understand. Um, just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your chapter and being so open about everything. Like I'm very open about my bipolarness. A lot of
Mhm.
that has ended up my branding, even that though that was never the intention. Um, and kind of started this whole thing of wanting to share my story, becoming a writer, and then leading into publishing. And now the next book, We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses, embodies so many people that I know, like yourself. Um, yes, there's something going on, but that's not the be all and end all. It's the
Yeah.
reason another yet another challenge um, that hey, we have to keep pushing through,
Yeah.
and that's what we do. So
Yeah.
go ahead. You
I
wanted to
was
say
just going to
something?
say, and that's what I'm writing about next. I'm writing about my experience of getting a diagnosis in
Oh my
21.
goodness! Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, Good. Like the next book coming with the diagnosis, it's I don't have anyone actually with your particular diagnosis. There's tons of other diagnoses in there.
Yeah.
But I am happy because of course I encourage people to share. There are people out there that have bipolar, that have multiple sclerosis. Did I say that right?
Mhm.
And they don't know how to even begin dealing with it. And the medical
Yeah.
system is crazy. If you don't
Broken.
know how to
It's
navigate the
broken.
medical system and advocate for yourself, you could get completely lost in a whole bunch of administrative
Yeah.
nonsense and never get the actual
Absolutely.
medical treatment that you need. So
Mhm.
I'm
So
glad
I'm
that
so glad you're doing that book.
yeah, I'm excited. It's we have people with PTSD, diabetes one, TBI, traumatic brain injury, cerebral
Mhm.
palsy. There's so much going on. Talk to me after the show. Um,
Okay.
okay, listen, you know me. I'm yeah, maybe I'm too easygoing. No, I don't think there's such a thing.
Nah.
I think I have to stay
Nah.
easygoing. Listen, working with the amount of people that I work with the number of different personalities that I work with, it's
You have to be
probably
the way you are.
yeah,
You
you
wouldn't
you
make it.
you got to be able to just roll, so um but thank you again for
Yeah.
coming on. Thank you for
Thank you for
sharing
having me.
everything. Yes, absolutely. And I know you said the mother load on Substack. So make sure you share that information with me. And is there anything else you want to share with the audience that might be coming up for you? Let us know how we can support you other than, coming on to the show. People would have now scanned your QR code. They would now be following you. Scan the QR code behind me, okay? That would be part one, why we came, why we stay, of a People First professional networking platform. You can reread Katrina's story and all the other stories in there. And her links will be in there as well for you to be able to contact her. So Anything else coming? Any parting words you would like to leave?
I'm doing some market research. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn, go to my very last post and take my survey. Please.
Absolutely, because that's one of the things that you shared when you know, made the switch. You actually participated in people's market research and did your own research and taking that survey. And I'm going to make sure I go take it as soon as I get off of here
Thank you.
because I don't think people realize sometimes how far support can go other than monetarily. People think
Yeah.
that if they aren't buying and they aren't paying and and I don't mean showing up on somebody's post and throwing a like. Okay, I know I
Yeah.
shouldn't say that because people are like, oh, but that is supporting. We'll leave that conversation for another day. But
That's a whole other episode, Nick.
yes. Um, so I would say please go connect with Catrina. Please take the survey. Okay. Every little bit we do helps, whether or not we realize it. What is the survey about?
It's about your plans of having a course and what kinds of things you feel like are your next job to do.
Mm, very good, very good. So yeah.
And if you haven't written for Nick already,
Oh.
go
Where is the
follow
next editing house?
GBW Publishing House because it's a fantastic experience. I feel like I didn't get to fully experience it because I could only keep one foot in at the time. But Nick was such a support during a really hard time. And Nick has checked on me as a person in LinkedIn DMs, not in how my writing is going, but how am I? And so it'll be a great experience to write with her.
Thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. And it's like you say, it's that framework, right? You're building out a framework because you took a course that was really shitty and you realize where the dead ends are and you have the experience. And now that I have experience being open about my bipolarness and the kind of support that I get, but in turn and unintentionally, the kind of inspiration and motivation that has gone out to others, I want people to have that experience too. And the ways that I can do that is by helping them to own their story through publishing. So I really do appreciate that. I push the fact that you're not paying to be in a book. We're not about books, we're about people. No people, no stories, no book, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to walk away such an incredible experience that you want to do it again. And I don't care if you do it with me. Like people like, are you crazy? How could you say that? That's not. I want to give you an experience where you own your story. You walk away saying, you know what? I know who the hell I am and what the hell I'm about. Because believe it or not, that can come out, people, of writing. It can
Yeah.
come out of writing. So I will continue to be hitting you up in your DMs because I just do. Katrina, I haven't
Of
heard from
course.
you. Where are you? I'm not seeing you. And you and I will continue to collaborate as I will with
Of
everyone
course.
else. So have a lovely rest of your week. I am off to
Thank
take the
you.
survey. Go take the survey. Nick's never bossy. No, no, I don't really think I am.
No,
But now I'm being bossy, okay? Go take the survey, please. That's okay.
please. And thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. All right, guys. Have a great evening, and we're going to return for the next episode of The Person Behind the Pen on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Crystal Chilcott. All right, look out for that post. Make sure you hit attend to the event. I'm going to bring you off stage now. Bye, Katrina.
Bye.